The Justin Robert Young program is brought to you, as always, by patreon.com/JuRY. If you would like to support this very show, then head on over there right now, patreon.com/JuRY. Another way that you can support the show is if you have Amazon Prime, you got $5 in your pocket that belong to me, in that they don't belong to you. You can't use them except to give them to me. Head on over to your Twitch, to twitch.tv/JustinRYoung. And if you already have a Twitch account, you can just subscribe for free once a month. You can't do it automatically, unfortunately. You got to do it every month. Or if you don't have a Twitch account, it'll let you set one up. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. You give me $5 a month. Everybody's great. No more money out of your pocket, presuming you already have Amazon Prime. And let's be honest here, folks. If you don't got Amazon Prime, come on, man. What the hot ham water are you doing? It's the best thing going today. And I'm not just saying that because Amazon provides my health care, but I might be slightly saying it because Amazon provides my health care. One more way that you can support the show is by signing up for my free political newsletter. freepoliticalnewsletter.com is where you can get my free political newsletter. It's free, it's political, it's an email newsletter that comes into your inbox 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. 5 stories, some hot takery, some gifts, mostly from the Chappelle Show. But enough of talking about how we support the show. What do you say we just start doing the damn thing? Welcome, friends. Let's go back.
Well, on our first day,
come on.
I showed up right at 8.
Start it up.
She came to the front door.
Okay. That's it.
I said, I'm away right here while you go put on a little makeup. She said, well, do I have to put on more?
And I said, yes. It's a song about unconditional love, and it's good that we sang it because I unconditionally love you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I would like to welcome you to the Justin Robert Young program. My name is Justin Robert Young. But fuck, man, let's stop being so formal. You can go ahead and call me JuRY. You can call me JuRY. And chat realm, when you call me, I will call you Al. Call you Al. Does Paul Simon hold up? I got a question. Does, like, do the kids dig Paul Simon? I need every parent who is listening to please play Paul Simon for their children. And then tell me whether or not they dig it and whether or not and what age they are. I remember I was kind of young on the younger side when, like, Don't Worry, Be Happy came out. And I really liked it. It was a very silly video. It's like Robin Williams and They're just like mugging around and being goofy. Bobby McFerrin, obviously. So I'm curious. Does Paul Simon hold up? We are on an expedition, friends. What is it? Chevy Chase, not Robin Williams? In the Don't Worry, Be Happy video? Did I fucking Bernstein Bears Robin Williams into that video? Paul Simon, a great artist. Because he had those silly videos. He had those big hits. But then, like, you know, Graceland still holds up. Chevy Chase is in Call Me Out. Robin Williams is in Don't Worry, Be Happy, right? All right. See, you know, everybody starts getting in there. They're both. Wait, Chevy Chase. Oh, my God. All right. Now everybody's just yelling things. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got a lot to get to. Got another full plate of emails. This show rapidly becoming more and more of a show about your emails, and I could not be happier about it. Number one, because I feel like for the first time in a little bit, we have been focused so heavily on expansion here in the Oakland studios. We are doing new podcasts. We are growing the podcast that we have. We are solidifying our plans for the future. That sometimes when all you're doing is focusing on more, you lose a little bit by necessity of what you had before. So I would say that this pivot, if you will, into you guys sending in your thoughts and feelings is me kind of getting into a better tapping back in to what has always been the strength of this show and everything in the Diamond Club and chat realm, and that is our connection. This format is also fantastic because it means I'd have to do less work, which is huge. It's gigantic because it's the episode that I get paid for, technically. If you are signed up on patreon.com/JuRY, I charge you once a week. And the once a week that I charge you is for this episode. And so it feels good when I do less work and yet get paid the same amount of money. Now, granted, I'm doing all the other podcasts that I do for this Patreon. So when you're on the Patreon, you get the politics stuff. You get the Friday hype train. But on some animal level, it feels really, really good to me. So we will get to your emails in a second. But there was a story that was sent in, also by an emailer, that I do want to talk about. Because we often discuss on this program dating trends. And I can only say that I hope that this does become a dating trend. He is the serial dine and dash dater. So I guess it's not really a dating trend in that you're not really dating somebody. This guy is going on a series of first dates. But here is the story from Los Angeles. A smooth criminal is being called the dine and dash dater after leaving several women with restaurant bills. One of the victims, who did not want to be identified, told CNN affiliate KCAL that she met Paul Gonzalez on a dating app and went to dinner with him. Quote, he ordered a salad with shrimp, filet mignon. Yeah, he went all out, the woman said. After dinner, the woman said Gonzalez had 2 cups of coffee and said he was worried about his sick aunt. All of a sudden, he's all like, oh, my charger, my phone's dying. And I'm waiting on a call from my mom about my aunt, the woman said. Gonzalez told her he was going to get his charger from his car, but the woman said he never came back, and she was left paying the $130 bill. I didn't bring it to the restaurant. Nothing, she said. I think I was more embarrassed. My pride was just like, you know, I felt dumb. What the woman didn't realize is that she wasn't alone. According to KCAL, Gonzalez has done the same thing, is the same man who has dashed from dates with at least 4 other women, leaving them with the bill. A Los Angeles attorney is advising all dine and dash victims to file police reports to document the crime. You can be jailed for up to 6 months and fined $1,000 if your dine and dash bill was under $950. So here's the deal. What would be? I'm gonna crowdsource this a little bit. What would be the most sympathetic version of this guy? Exact same pattern of behavior. What's the most sympathetic version? Is there a way that we can get this guy to be, if not the good guy, at the very least, not the worst guy? Because right now, he's the worst guy, right? You're meeting somebody for the first time, and then you were sticking them with the bill. Although I am seeing a very, very interesting thread bubbling up here in our chat. And that is what I assume to be dudes saying that this man is the Robin Hood of dating. That in a culture where, specifically on first dates, it is at the very least the most impressive thing to do. Good manners would be to offer to pay if you are the man. Now, if the woman insists on splitting, then agreeing to that, good form as well. But if you're trying to make a first impression, and there are cultural norms in our society wherein the man paying for the first date is part of it, at the very least, unless you have an absolute aversion to this, at which point it's going to make for an awkward first date conversation anyway, to be like, I'm sorry, I reject this cultural oppression wherein you milk my penis for money when we've just met. I will remain unmilked during this first date. I instead hope that you and I can forge a relationship based upon an equal expenditure of money. I am no broodmare, ma'am, here to just service your industry by way of a first date, which, if I might say so myself, went piss poor. This is why I'm really glad that I never had I settled down with Ashley Tinder dating, pre-mobile dating. In fact, I'll tell you what. I want emails on this. JustinRobertYoung@gmail.com. JustinRobertYoung@gmail.com. Go ahead and hit me up. Hit me up with your horrifying Tinder stories. I want your horrifying Tinder stories. Oak Dragon in the chat points out that one could say that the reason why men pay is to get their penis milked. Fair point. But I am talking, ma'am, about a metaphorical milking. Yes, verily, the draining of my bank account by way of my urethra. For it is only the fact that I have a dangling penis that society from on high issues the following decree. You pay on the first date. chisel it in the stone tablets, and let the message ring free. Well, I say nay to this. Tal Israel in the chat says, how about a good online dating story? My girlfriend and I met on OkCupid and have been together for a year and a half. Boring. Come on. I wanted to fill, what is this, the fucking positive affirmation show? If you have an interesting thing that happened along the way, if a funny thing happened on the way to the forum, then come on. But Jesus, well, we're dealing with this dine and dash dater, and we're trying to figure out a way to make him sympathetic. What if he has, all right. So obviously the immediate things that pop into your mind is that he's homeless, and this is the only way that he's eating. Although you look at a picture of the guy, they do have a picture of the guy as part of this story, and he doesn't exactly look homeless. But then again, you never know, right? Is there any other way? I mean, is it maybe if he's filming a documentary? I guess maybe if he never meant to do it. What if he's like JuRY? Oh my God, you guys. What if he's like JuRY? What if he forgets? What if he keeps forgetting where he's going? What if he's like, he really is worried about his aunt, but he forgot about that too, and she's been dead for 3 years. And he just keeps, so he keeps going to his Tinder, and he's like, I gotta remember, I gotta go on a date, gotta find a wife at some point, meet that boob. And then next thing you know, he goes out, tries to call his aunt, forgets where his charger is. Maybe that's why his phone is always uncharged. And he has a tattoo that reminds him to avenge the death of his aunt. We're mixing movies now, but I think it works. Have we investigated? Have we investigated if the dine and dash dater is really the dine and dash dater who's really JuRY? I don't believe we have. I think we need to figure that out. All right, let's go ahead and get into your emails. By the way, thank you to Andrew for writing in with that story. Justin Robert Young at Gmail.com. Again, Justin Robert Young at gmail.com is where you go if you would like to write in to the show. So here we go. SNY Walker writes, so on Cinco de Mayo, I was with my wife, my toddler, my mother-in-law, and 3 of our employees from 5 to 8 eating dinner, drinking margaritas, and shooting some material for one of our clients. Over the course of those 3 hours, I consumed 3 margaritas. To put things in perspective, I am an inch taller than Brock Lesnar, and I am roughly his weight. I'm a pretty solid dude, and I can handle my alcohol pretty well. A marg an hour doesn't even get me buzzed. And I think I've only been drunk twice in my life, but never vomited, and I've never had a hangover. I pause now for dramatic effect to ask anybody who does not know who Brock Lesnar is to please go ahead and Google Brock Lesnar. Are you back? Okay. We got home at 8 o'clock to give toddler Snywalker a bath and put him down for bed. I remember getting home and starting his bath, but have no memory once the bath starts at 8:05-ish through 10-ish. According to my wife, I helped get the little one out of the bath, dried, and then put some pajamas on. A few minutes later, she found me passed out on our bed and was stumbling and slurring badly. I'm a stay-at-home dad at the moment, and I normally put him to bed. She got mad at me and told me not to worry. At first, she thought I got too drunk and was mad that I drove home. We live 2 minutes away, but it's still understandable. While she was putting him to bed, I puked twice on myself, the couch, and the living room rug. Oopsie. When she was done with baby bedtime, she found me struggling to stand, apparently out of it, and trying to use the broom to sweep vomit off the rug, saying, "I'll fix it, I'll fix it." She started asking me how much I had to drink. I managed to mumble, "I think 3 margaritas." Knowing that I can handle more than that, and that I never drink past getting buzzed, she suspected that something else was to blame and was no longer mad at me. She kept bringing me water to drink and made sure I wasn't vomiting before helping me into bed. I lost 2 hours of consciousness. I recall memory of events coming back around 10, and I remember being confused and having poor motor control, difficulty speaking, and walking. I woke up the next morning thinking something wasn't right about that. All right. So I'm going to ask everybody who is watching and listening to right now put on your detective caps and try to figure out what is going on here. Because his hypothesis is the following. After having gone from sober to blackout in a short period of time the night before, I Googled roofied symptoms, and it all made sense. The establishment we were at was very busy that night, and between the bar and table, something must have gotten slipped into my last drink. Looking back, I'm glad I took the bullet and it wasn't a lady that got the effects. One of our company's employees is a 22-year-old lady who is less than half my weight. That margarita was one of many on a tray that was brought outside to our table. It could have been her or my 64-year-old mother-in-law. I had never heard of date rape drugs before, I had heard of date rape drugs before, but never gave them much thought since I was an unlikely rape target. It's baffling how useless I was that night. So, as we all, is there anything? I need my biologically inclined listenership to put their mind together on this. Is there anything that would do that isn't roofies? So look at this. Helio Colgo says high blood sugar has those symptoms too. Some might say that I'm a contrarian by nature. I would tell them absolutely not. It's a joke. But part of my thought process is always, okay, if something seems very clear, is there something else that we can tie to it? So I would ask SNY Walker, A, are you on any other kind of medication? Maybe something that mixed wrong with the alcohol. Do you have any kind of blood sugar history? Because the one thing that he is drinking margaritas, not exactly free of a gigantic sugar rush. Hypertension, diabetes. Because reading that, it sounds shockingly, the vomiting, sounds like you got roofied. I once thought that I was roofied. I was at a bar. Only real Davie Plantation, Cooper City heads know that there once was one of my favorite bars of all time. a little shithole off the side of University Drive called Luke's. Luke's was a bad bar in that bad people went there, and it was run primarily by unsavory types. It was very Moss Isley. Never has there been a greater hive of scum and villainy. But I loved it because it was open till 4 o'clock. And unlike SNY Walker, I am considerably smaller than Brock Lesnar, and I have often in my life drank to excess. So where do you go when the bar that you are at after 1:45 decides that you're not allowed to drink there anymore? Well, you go to Luke's. So one night we're at Luke's. We're drinking. And I don't think that I've drank as much as should warrant the behavior that I began exhibiting right afterward, which was falling off my stool, slurring, all that kind of stuff. In fact, I was so out of it that I was dropped off to get from like where cars drop off to my childhood home. You had to walk a little bit of a path. There's like grass on the side of it. I could not make it to my door. I literally went to sleep in the grass. My brother had to wake me up in the morning when he woke up. Now, that's the closest that I would imagine that I have been roofied. I also would not be shocked if it happened, considering considering that place was, if somebody were to be date raped, it would be at Luke's. And they're closed now, so I can feel free slandering them. But then again, I was also drinking like an idiot, so you never know. BioCow wrote in, and he wanted me to read this question live on the air. I ignored him, not because I wanted to ignore him, but because I'm a poor reader, and I skipped over the sentence in which he asked me to not read this until I was on the air. So I will now just read his email in condensed format. I wanted to ask you a philosophical question I've been asking people randomly for over 2 decades, and have even asked some other Diamond Club streamers. It's always interesting to get different people's take on it. If you were to clone yourself, then get busy with your clone, would you consider that gay sex or an elaborate form of masturbation? Luckily for you, BioCow, I have thought of this before. And it really depends on what I was doing with my clone. If my clone were to just jack me off, I think that no matter what, that would be masturbation, because mine hands have been there before. So really, this would just be being able to jack off while also reading a book. However, if it were to go beyond there, if we were to get further along the base path, I think at that point we are looking at a continually gay, sexier situation. Because I have never blown myself, and despite my legendarily massive penis, I have not either fucked my own butt or been fucked by myself in my own butt. So That is my theory, my theory on all that. I would say that if it was just a JO, closer on the line of masturbation. Now, in general, we are entering into a science fiction scenario wherein a patina of science fiction must lay upon all of these questions. So it would not be the same as me just, cranking one out. But I would say that yeah, it would be something along there. We had a request from the chat, Tally Zarell, who, by the way, is in a lovely relationship with a girlfriend that she met on OkCupid. So we are all very happy for Tally Zarell. She asked me to play what is something that is going around these days. I believe I saw it first on BuzzFeed. Oh, my God. This thing is so crazy that, this popped up yesterday, and now all of the Google searches for Yanny and Laurel are all second-day features about this, despite the fact that this is actually the first day. Here we go. Yanny and Laurel, what do you hear? I'm going to play it a couple times.
Laurel, 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 Laurel.
I will say that I have heard it both ways. Initially, I heard
Laurel,
but then afterward, I heard
Laurel,
and I will say that anybody who hears it as
Laurel
is a real piece of shit. Because the only folks, and by the way, I'm not dating, I'm not marrying, I'm not voting for anybody who doesn't hear it as
Laurel.
This is a dividing line. I am a one-issue voter in 2016 and 2020. And the only question is, do you hear it as
Laurel,
or do you rightly hear it as
Laurel,
because everybody who hears it as
Laurel,
is a piece of shit who would probably fuck their own clone. But if you hear it as
Laurel,
then you are the patient wife who cleans up your roofied husband's vomit. If you hear it as
Laurel,
then you're the asshole.
Laurel.
No, stop
Laurel.
it. Stop it. You're the asshole who roofied him.
Laurel.
Exactly. Moving on. We talked last week about the restaurant Yellow Fever. Oh, by the way, I heard it as Yanny first, and then I heard it as Laurel. It's a tone thing, a pitch shifting thing, so it does change based on device, and it does change based on recording. But there's a tool now on the New York Times where you can slide it back and forth. But it's a fun thing. We all get to have a fun thing together. All right. At least we settled that. Yellow Fever. It's a restaurant in the Southern California area. It got a new location at a Whole Foods restaurant or Whole Foods facility. They are now in a bit of a controversy as folks find the phrase yellow fever to be offensive. Our correspondent on all Chinese cultural issues, who I racistly deputized Sunbun as, wrote in and explained his feelings on it last week. We got a few emails on it this week. Joe wrote in, I remember a few years back, we contemplated opening a tamale restaurant in my home of San Pedro, also in the South Bay. We have several family recipes, and my original name was going to be the Tamale Man. I wanted to incorporate themes from the roving tamale sellers of our neighborhood, like coolers on wheels with bells or photos of Tamale Man roots on the walls. But my mom, a once illegal immigrant, suggested that we name it Mojados, because depending on the occasion, our tamales were either served smothered in green, red, or mole sauce. In Spanish, estilo mojado, well, this is also how family and friends would refer to themselves before being here legally. A clear reference to the term wetback from having crossed the Rio Grande to get to the U.S. as mojados. I have no doubt there would have been people who took offense. I thought and still think it's a clever play on words because it's my world. Every member of my extended family was illegal until the Reagan amnesty of 1986, some longer than that. All the while, they were the mojado family members. When they were finishing their residency, there were still a little mojado around their ass or behind their ears. I think every culture takes ugly words and ideas and makes them their own. Maybe it's to rob it of the sting. Maybe it's because they see the humor in it. But I believe others need to have the right to enjoy cultural values and rights of far-off places. Let the white girl wear hoop earrings. Let her wear the old Shanghai-style silk dress. But if she pulls her eyes back to makes buck teeth, educate her on the origins of those stereotypes and how they were rooted in hatred and distrust. If she still does it, shout her down as a racist. Appropriation needs to be allowed to happen in both directions, provided that it's done with respect for self and others. I went long, and I'm sorry. I turned 41 this month, and I don't understand the world around me anymore. I literally walk on eggshells sometimes because I worry about being called an ist or a phobe. I just want to spend time with people I like and make new friends and call you an ass if you deserve it. Is that too much to ask? Well, number one, for the PX3 listeners, know that we have some Georgia gubernatorial candidates who would very much like to bring their truck or bus by your tamale shop. I don't really have much to say about this that I haven't said in the previous episodes, in that I want to follow the lead of and listen to communities so they can make the rules on what's cool and what's not. I tend to find it a little annoying when folks who are not a part of those communities do all the talking. And this is coming from somebody who, just as a general life lesson, tends to do all the talking. But it does kind of bring up the idea of cultural exchange. Like, that you would be able to do something and enjoy something. Like, enjoying the fruits of other cultures is inevitable. Like, as soon as we invented cheap ways to travel, as soon as we invented the automobile, as soon as we invented the telephone, as soon as we invented the television, as soon as we invented the internet, it became increasingly more likely that we were not going to be, boxed in. Fuck, as soon as we invented any kind of travel, ships, horses, all that, it became increasingly more likely that we were going to exchange cultures. Now, as in any culture, having an understanding of what is appropriate and what isn't is part of it. So, I think that you should always keep an eye out. You should always be respectful. But in general, this is going to happen. As for the name of the restaurant, considering you serve your tamales smothered in sauce, a.k.a. wet, right? That's a fairly funny idea. I also think that unlike yellow fever, which is something that is about racial interaction, nobody but Spanish speakers would know what mojados was. And in general, that probably would be less offensive. You would mostly just be looking at inter-Hispanic anger about a name like that. But we got one more email about this. Brian wrote, I live in Long Beach and I have eaten at Yellow Fever. It was delicious. I was exposed to the term growing up in middle school. I was told that I had yellow fever in high school because I was dating an Asian. In high school, I was also told I had jungle fever when I was dating a black woman. I wonder if jungle fever would receive the same response. Well, Spike Lee made a movie called Jungle Fever. And I would also like to point out again when we talk about the Yellow Fever restaurant that it was created, owned, and operated by an Asian woman. I think that opening a restaurant called Jungle Fever, which has, if we can, dare to split racist hairs here, I think is probably even uglier a term than Yellow Fever. I think that that would be a bit of a more raucous river to cross, in my opinion. Although I certainly heard that phrase quite a bit growing up, and it was very rarely from white people. It was mostly from black people. But again, I will follow the lead of whoever else wants to make the rules on that. Personally, considering that restaurants in general have a tremendously high failure rate, I would probably choose not to complicate it by giving it a name for which could brand me a racist forever. The solution, as Sunbun points out, is to just serve avocado toast to white millennials. I asked everybody to please no longer send jukebox torture stories. But we did get one in that wasn't quite a jukebox torture story that I did have to sneak in here at the end. Chad writes, in my early 20s, I worked at a machine shop that a childhood friend of mine owned. At that job, I would set up and operate CNC mills like the machines that Apple uses to manufacture MacBook Pro chassis. We'll use these mills to manufacture electronics housing and components for radar guns out of solid blocks of aluminum. Most of these jobs took about a few minutes to run, except for one. Each Monday morning, we would get a rundown from the shop foreman on what jobs we had coming up for the week. This particular morning, he mentioned a job that caused a collective groan to go up in the shop. The job was a really complicated housing that took a total of 17 minutes and 15 seconds to run. This is, in and of itself, not that big of a deal. Like I said, the machine does most of the work. I was so new to the shop that I had not been around the last time we ran this job, and as such, I did not grasp the horrors that awaited us. You see, the shop owner had a particular tradition when running this job. The album version of Inagata Davida by Iron Butterfly has a runtime of 17 minutes and 5 seconds. I think you can see where this is going. Whenever we would do this job, the shop owner decreed that since its runtime nearly perfectly matched up with the runtime of the job, Inagata Davida would play over the shop stereo for however long it took for us to complete the order. This particular order was, wait for it, 100 units. For those of you keeping score at home, that meant we had to listen to In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida for roughly 4 days straight. To this day, I cannot listen to that song without blacking out in rage. That's an OSHA violation. That's an OSHA violation, and if you are still at that job, Chad, I need you to go find a lawyer. You can probably still sue for damages. You can sue for emotional distress if you have not already. And indeed, you really, really need to go ahead and find restitution. All right, folks, normally we call Tom at the end of the show. Tom is in Australia, but as was last week, we will call my strategic advisor, my senior advisor, my strategic analyst, the Svengali behind the JuRY brand. It is my friend and business confidant, Tamar.
You're trying to reach
Jesus.
currently unavailable.
Uh-oh.
Please leave a message after the...
Tamar's not here. Tamar's not here. Oh, well. It's only 4 a.m. I can still try and call Tom. Yeah, maybe, you know. Tom's a fairly early sleeper, though. If he were a partier, I might give him a call. That might not be the worst thing in the world. All right, you want to know what? Lines are open. We will take one call to end the show. 510-404-8030. 510-404-8030. 8030. Go ahead and give me a ring. We will take one call to end the show because I do really like I like ending this with a call. JC Calhoun says, one summer I worked at a summer job with my cousins. They would pick me up on the way to work every single day, all summer long. They listened to the same Madonna album. I can't listen to early Madonna now. The world now needs to know which Madonna album. Which Madonna album? See, this is hard. You can't just microwave calls. You got to have a reason for people to call in. Who else is here? Nobody else that would be listening to the show. Oh, here we go. We got a call. Hello, who's this?
This is Rob in Southern California. How you doing, JuRY?
Rob, what's going on, buddy?
Yeah, not much. Just listening to your JuRY show, and I'm just loving it.
All right,
so
here I got some. You can ask me any question you want, but I got some questions for you first. Number one,
all right.
which do you hear, Yanni or Laurel?
Laurel. Well, when I first heard it, I couldn't hear anything but like a buzz. But I put my headphones on, and I heard Laurel. Now all I hear is Laurel.
All right, so Laurel. Listen. Everybody can leave that up to their own moral judgment. Number two, have you ever been roofied?
No. However, my theory on that guy's story is his wife roofied him so she can go and bone her boyfriend.
All right. So maybe, he did lose 2 hours, and he only has his wife's word to say what he did during those 2 hours. You're saying that it's not outside of the realm of comprehension that she snuck off and banged a dude. Or a lady.
Yeah. There we go.
All right.
He may have been wanting to be awake for that. I don't know how he swings, but
If
that's an unfriend me episode.
That is an unfriend me episode. What do you think the punishment for the dine and dash dater should be? And is he a righteous Robin Hood of male victimhood?
No, that's just a bunch of incel nonsense, and those guys need to go and work on their social game.
I don't even want to touch that insult thing. That is a crazy, crazy thing. Would you go to a tamale restaurant named Mojados?
Oh, absolutely. I bet they have the best horchata.
And finally, if there were a clone of yourself and you got busy with the clone, is it gay sex or an elaborate form of masturbation?
I would say it is a gay form of masturbation.
A gay form. I mean, isn't that just a version of gay sex? Like, you can't just say, like, oh, this is a gay mess. I mean, because, like, wait, is there a gayer way that you can masturbate yourself?
Watching gay porn, maybe?
Fair point. So, all right, if you jacked yourself off while you were watching yourself jack off, would that be gay masturbation? Rob? You there? Hello? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Rob, you there? I can only assume that he is watching himself jerk off right now. Folks, we've crossed the horizon line. You could just hear it. You could hear it in the background. Fap, 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 fap. You always love your own brand. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for being a part of it. Thank you to everybody who emailed in. Again, JustinRobertYoung@gmail.com. JustinRobertYoung@gmail.com. Is it an elaborate form of masturbation or a gay encounter? And by the way, I want to hear from gay people too. That's who's the only people who can really figure this out. Because everything else is like a litmus test to how far on the Kinsey scale you are. I need gay people to know whether or not it's gay sex or it's an elaborate form of masturbation. We need to find out whether or not Mahatos is a racist name. We need to find out whether or not SNY Walker got roofied. All these things can only be solved by you, the listener. If you email in justinrobertyoung@gmail.com, please put JuRY in the subject line. A reminder, if you want to support this show, go ahead to patreon.com/JuRY. Stickers or DIAF is where you can get your stickers. I want to thank Dadak for the music, as well as the Spinto Band and the Possum Posse. Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat @JustinRYoung. And, of course, join the conversation at diamondclub.reddit.com. Folks, I want to remind you guys that this is your old pal, Justin Robert Young, as I implore you to please don't die.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program. Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.